Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the lion voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here, hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, front to us, a son was born and a child was given.
I want to ask you a question. Have you got your book? Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1, The Rise of the Priest Warrior King. I've read the book in its entirety, and I must say it's very inspirational, very informative, and very historical, right?
Them call him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from sky. Them call him Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. They call him Rastafari. The lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him Rastafari. Read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then born near the city of Harar, the inspiration for Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England. Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka Dejazmatch Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man. I'm an entertainment attorney, I'm an author, I'm an actionist, I'm an artist, and I'm also the host of the Lion Voice vlog. Welcome to episode 43. Special episode. Today is the grand coronation of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I and Her Imperial Majesty Empress Waziri Menen. We celebrate all around the world. I have on my Ethiopian garments. Without this day, there is no Rastafari, there is no Rastafari movement, there is nothing that we're talking about on this channel wouldn't exist. Lion voice would not exist. It might be the dog voice or something like that. This is a great event. So we give thanks first and foremost for the day, and we're gonna go into the coronation in this episode and touch on some points as they were outlined in the autobiography of His Imperial Majesty. And if you don't have this book, I recommend for every Pan-African Rastafari leadership minded person, get this book. It takes you into the mind of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I and gives you some insight into the building of modern Ethiopia. And it's very important work of literature. As a reading Ras, I have to recommend it. Before we get into the episode though, let's do some housekeeping. First and foremost, big up all of the Lion Pride. Who is the Lion Pride, you say? The Lion Pride is what I call all of the faithful subscribers to the channel. They are making sure that the channel is growing slowly but surely. The videos are picking up steam. Big up, the Rastafari Man Standard is now the #1 watch video on the channel. The other videos are also, ones are going forward into the catalog. And I tell creators, because as you know, as an entertainment attorney, I do consultations with content creators. I also do non-legal consultations with creatives as well. And one of the things that I say, as you create the content, don't worry about the crowd, worry about perfecting the craft, because when the crowd comes, they will go back and watch the back catalog and populate all of that. So the work is never in vain in this modern content era. And I'm seeing that on this channel. I wish I could give more time to it, but I'm still full-time attorney and actionist on the board of several non-profits. So a lot of work on my plate, so I can't give YouTube the full attention. So I give thanks, and I know the growth is going to be a little bit slower than some people who have more time to livicate and to post, but I just give thanks for the Lion Pride. Still have the Patreon. We're going to put more attention on the Patreon. I have some things bubbling on that side. Please, if you want to support the channel, become a member of the Patreon. We already have some content over there. We're going to have a lot more coming. Remember to subscribe though. Subscribe to the channel if you're watching the channel. You love the content. Subscribe to the channel. And let us get into the episode. So, the coronation. This was an event that was one of the great events in the history of humanity. And this is all about Lich Tafari, and as you know, my book, Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, The Rise of the Priestly Warrior Kings, details the birth of His Majesty as Lich Tafari Mokonnen. So from Lich Tafari Mokonnen, he became Dejazmatch at the age of 13. 1906, he became Dejazmatch, given that title. And then lived as a Dejazmatch until he was given the title of Ras. He was crowned as a Ras and heir to the throne in September 27, 1960. So these are the different stages, and I'm gonna, as a part of the Rastafari Man standard, I'm gonna outline a modern interpretation of all these stages, because we need a rites of passage for the Rastafari Man. Too much loosey-goosey going on, I told you that, but I'm not gonna get sidetracked. But we're just showing, as we see the life of Rastafari, we have to trace. So we go from Lich, Dejazmatch, Ras, and then Negus. Negus was October 7th, 1928. And then from Negus, then we have Negus and Agas. Contrary to popular belief, Haile Selassie, Negus Tafari, became the emperor or the supreme ruler of the land actually on April 2nd, 1930, the day Zadit II died. He was crowned, or he was put in place in power, in full power. At that time, he was acting as the heir and the regent, meaning that she was a ceremonial empress, but he was actually the one that was running all of the affairs of the state. So he had already been in power for long, and it's testament to his leadership that he was able to break with long-standing tradition, and he actually postponed the coronation for 7 months, and we're going to get into why he made this bold move. But I want to just put that in context. You know, him being crowned the day the Empress died, April 2nd, which is really the Ascension Day, and then having the formal ceremonial coronation 7 months later. Remember, we start the modern realm, the end of the Zemini Mesafit, which was the era of princes, was ended by the priestly warrior king known as Emperor Tewodros. And Tewodros won the throne through war, fighting at the head of his armies. Tewodros was deposed by the British with the help of Casamercha, who became Emperor Johannes IV. Empress Johannes IV was able to take the throne by war. He was challenged because another person crowned himself emperor, and he had to fight on the battlefield for the distinction of being emperor. Emperor Johannes IV actually died on the battlefield defending the realm against Islamic invaders. Remember, there's a reason that Emperor Johannes IV's son, Ras Mengasha, who was protected by arguably the greatest general in Ethiopian history, or one of the greatest generals in Ethiopian history, is Ras Alula. There's a reason why Ras Mengasha did not get to claim the throne of his father. It was because his army, which scattered after his father died, was no match for the army of Emperor Menelik, who would crown himself and go unmatched. The year His Majesty was born Ras Mengasha and Ras Alula were planning rebellion, and Emperor Menelik actually marched his army right up to the border of Tigray and decided to turn back because of the Kefu Khan, which, if you read my book, you know the evil days and that drought. But that drought probably saved the civil war after the death of Emperor Johannes the Fourth. However, His Majesty did not have to fight a civil war at the moment of his coronation. There was war. Empress Saiditu's husband earlier had tried to conquer and had to be defeated. However, the fact that again His Majesty felt comfortable of postponing the coronation to 7 months is just a show of strength and supreme confidence that he could not only extend this invitation but invite foreign dignitaries and feel confident that the place would be safe enough for them to be there. And we'll find out later on some arch enemies actually attended the coronation. We'll do a deep dive, probably not in this episode, in another episode, but this coronation was a tense gathering because of all of the kingdoms that were present. But again, because of the respect they all had for His Imperial Majesty, peace reigned. So, very powerful facts. Menelik II came to the throne. He was also a warrior, a priestly warrior king, and he had to fight wars to maintain the throne as well, conquering many territories while he was king, including Harar. It was Menelik's army that was responsible for the conquest of Harar. I detail it in my book. So the emperors of Ethiopia, and of course famously Emperor Menelik and Empress Taitu, were the ones who fought at the Battle of Adwa, destroying the Italian forces and keeping Africa free during the height of the scramble for Africa. So war was always imminent, and the different kingdoms were vying. So when we talk about Tedros, that's a different kingdom. When we talk about Johannes, we're talking about Tigray. We're talking about Showa. We're talking about Emperor Menelik. So these were different kingdoms that were warring. So the fact, to bring it forward to the coronation, that Negus Tafari was confident and in enough power that he could postpone for 7 months. And he gives a justification. In his book, he says, in times of old, the emperor was not announced until the son was put on the throne. Only after the emperor was announced by proclamation would the ceremony burial of the deceased monarch happen. And that was because in the ancient time, again, they're trying to stop these wars for succession, which was very prevalent as different branches of the Solomonic dynasty vied for power. And then you had also other dynasties that also wanted the throne. If you watch Game of Thrones, you would know a fictional account of how coveted the royal throne can be, or if you're a student of history, same thing. His Majesty also says in other instances, the king would be buried and the son would be crowned in a secret ceremony, and both the death of the old king and the crowning of the new king would be announced at the same time. Again, the same thing. So, but he says that he didn't do this, and this is very key to black history, African history. He didn't do this because he said that on April 3rd, the date that he ascended after the death of Empress Zaiditu, who was Menelik's daughter, that Ethiopia had concluded formal treaties with 12 countries and was a member of the League of Nations. So this was his work that he is talking about. He had been very assiduously building Ethiopia as an international power, meaning that ending the eras of isolation and establishing relations with friendly governments, or at the time what he was hoping would be friendly governments and governments that could help in the development of Ethiopia from an ancient society or ancient empire or realm into a modern nation. So he postponed for 7 months to allow for invitations to all of these dignitaries. And remember, we're talking about April 2nd, 1930. This is in the height of Jim Crow segregation. This is in the height of colonialism. This is in the height of white supremacy. A black king being crowned in the mountains of Ethiopia. It's extraordinary. And a king with enough power that he can postpone the coronation for 7 months to send out invitations. Who did he invite? Let's look at some of the people that were invited to the grand coronation. And basically all of the major powers of the time were put on notice that the Solomonic dynasty was claiming the throne. His Majesty George V, King of England, Emperor of India at the time. So this is important because with this move, Ras Tafari, Negus Tafari, His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I is signaling that he's playing chess on the highest level. He's calling out his contemporaries within the different royal families. These are supposed to be all of the blue bloods, the royals from all around the world. He's putting them on notice that he's ascending the throne and asking them to come. And we know that when you go to the coronation, all the people there have to bow down before the king. So the fact that he's calling them is him telling them, come to my country and bow down before me. I'm claiming the throne of King David, which you all write about in your Bible and run up your gum about. I am the real thing on the throne. That is basically what he was saying. So he invited His Majesty King George V, King of England, Emperor of India. So these are, at this time, these powers are running basically the planet. His Majesty Victor Emmanuel III, the King of Italy, who would later be utilized by the Pope to invade. The beast shall make war with the lamb shall overcome him, for he is the King of Kings. His Majesty Hiroto, Emperor of Japan. His Majesty Albert II, King of the Belgians. His Majesty Gustav V, King of Sweden. His Majesty Wilhelmina, I believe that's the King of Norway. His Majesty Fahd I, King of Egypt. And now we start getting to the republics and the different states. His Excellency M. Damernig, President of the French Republic. His Excellency Mr. Hoover, President of the United States. His Excellency Field Marshal von Hindenburg, President of the German Republic. His Excellency Mustafa Kemal Pasha, President of the Turkish Republic. His Excellency Monsieur Kondoriots, President of the Greek Republic. All my Greek followers, if I butcher the name, drop the phonetic spelling in the comments. His Excellency President Mosiki of Poland. Mosiki of Poland. I might butcher some of these names, but please, we're open to correction. But these were the names, and he said that at the time there was no treaty with Poland, but Poland, because they were in negotiation, he extended the invitation to Poland as well. So that was a very, as I say, a very symbolic and powerful gesture. Not only did he send to these major world powers at the time, and these were all of the powers that were conquering all of the territories. So he's telling them to come to the mountains of Africa to bow before the Black King and his queen. But he also sent invitations to all the princes and the nobles of the realm of Ethiopia. And remember, this historically was a issue that war could break out because of people vying for the throne. But he had consolidated through the building of institutions. And this was early, so a lot of the modern institutions were not even built. But in terms of diplomatic relation, he had done so much groundwork, starting from his days of the Dejazmatch. And this is so important for the Rastafari man. We must understand that this is not an overnight chad. His Majesty was sending out young Ethiopians to get educated abroad in college while he was Ras, before he ever became crowned, so that now when he was crowned, some of these students started to come back home and he could put them in different areas of government. That takes foresight, that takes the far eye. So this is very important for the Rastafari man. We have to understand these things. Letters were sent to all of the priors of the monasteries. So the heads of the monasteries and the deans of the cathedrals were all invited, including Abba Miriam, the prior of Deborah Bizan, which is in modern day Eritrea, one of the ancient monasteries. Big up all the Eritreans. We're all brothers by blood. So the power was such that he was not only inviting the foreign dignitaries, but also the different kingdoms within the realm, again, to come, as they would say in Game of Thrones, and bend the knee, you know, bow down before the king, show that you, your fealty, your loyalty to the crown. So this is a power move, and those who understand geopolitics, those who understand royalty, understand the position. When the rest of the black world was in subjugation, that Ethiopia could command this type of response is a testament again to the respect of the throne and to being an unconquered people. This was an ancient realm, so most of the races, the nobles, were barefoot soldiers and warriors. So this is even before shoes had become commonplace. This to show you the anciency of the realm. In preparation for the coronation, a lot of things had to be done. They commissioned the main road to be paved. So this was the first time, 1930, when Ethiopia got paved roads, and also the first time that electric lights were installed. So the main roadways where the guests, foreign guests would be staying, electricity was put in at great expense. No expense was spared for this coronation because again, this was also Ethiopia arrival to the rest of the world. And at this time, this was when people were still traveling by ship. So this is not we jump on Delta or we jump on American airline and we go fly at Ethiopia. No, you have to get on a ship. It might take you a month to get to Ethiopia. You have to go through Djibouti, travel by train. Things can break down, anything can happen. So this is not a time when heads of state were traveling, and we'll see later on who these world powers sent to represent them. None of the heads of state came themselves. It would have been too dangerous, and because they would literally have to come with their army in case anything happened. His Majesty is really the first head of state that come check in at your place and just come seat up as the Lion of Judah, the head one to be feared, you know, come check in at your place. And he kicked off this modern era of international diplomacy where you see heads of state going to visit other heads of state. That's all Haile Selassie is doing. But let's get forward to the coronation. Let's talk about the imperial vestments, because again, the coronation is about symbolism. It's about announcing to the world the King of Kings, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of God, the light of the world has come. These were all of the official titles. So he had a golden crown, the triple crown. Triple crown because again, he had already been crowned as Ras. He had already been crowned of king over all of Ethiopia in 1928. One of the first kings over the whole realm of Ethiopia. And now he was being crowned the King of Kings, Negus Tafari. So, triple crown. Then he had the orb, which symbolized the earth. You see pictures with the golden orb. I'll put one up here. Majestic. And then he had the golden scepter. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, or lawgiver from between his feet, until the coming of Shiloh, for unto him shall the gathering of the people be. You understand? So all of these things were symbolic, and this was seen as the scepter of Solomon. He had a sword, and all of these, again, to defend the realm, slay the wicked, these things, and a ring, and these things were all symbols, again, to show the divine nature of the realm, and all of the pomp and circumstance that was due to royalty. Very important. All of these were made from gold and diamonds, so the precious metals were on display. For the Rastas, they were given golden headgear. The princes were given pearl-studded headgear, and the ladies were given golden diadems. You know, the military commanders were all given headgear made from lion mane, interlaced with gold and embroidered with velvet. So you can, if you see the big lion mane, you know, this is the land of the lion. He's the conquering lion. So all of these things, you know, as a foreigner, and you come and you see these things, you think you're gone back into time. As National Geographic put it in their coverage, that it was like stepping back into the Bible because of all of these things that they saw. He also had gold medals commissioned for the guests, with the now famous coronation picture of him and Empress Menen side by side. The profile picture, I'll put it up on the screen as well. So, and that was given out to foreign guests. The guest list, let's talk about who showed up. And I'm gonna have to probably do this in two parts because so much to talk about. But we'll talk about the guest list, and then we'll do another episode where we continue and do a deeper dive. His Royal Highness, the Duke of Gloucester, he was the envoy of the King of England. His Royal Highness, the Prince of Udine, was the envoy of the King of Italy. His Excellency, Monsieur Geron, was the envoy of His Majesty the King of Belgium. His Excellency Baron H.K.C. Bildt, the envoy of His Majesty the King of Sweden. His Excellency John Kerr Heinrich Moritz van Harisma de With, envoy of the Queen of the Netherlands, and I butchered some of these names. Those who are the scholars, they can pronounce them phonetically for us. His Excellency Mr. Isaburo Yoshida, envoy of His Majesty Emperor of Japan. His Excellency Mohammed Tawfik Nazim Pasa, envoy of His Majesty the King of Egypt. His Excellency Marshal Franchet Desperey, envoy of the French Republic. His Excellency Mr. H.M. Jacobi, envoy of the USA. His Excellency Baron von Waldehausen, envoy of the German Republic. His Excellency Count Metaxa, envoy of the Greek Republic. His Excellency Muhittin Pasha, envoy of the Turkish Republic. And His Excellency Count His Excellency Count Dzieduski. Boy, that one there rough, Poland. Envoy of the Polish Republic. And His Majesty said he always had a special place in his heart for Poland because they sent an envoy even though they didn't have a formal diplomatic relation with Ethiopia. So big up Poland. They also have a very beautiful reggae festival in Poland. Hold up holy culture. So big up all the Polish people out there who may see this video. Big up yourself. Well, let me continue. One of the things that His Majesty also did, again, sending a message to the colonial powers, chess not checkers. He had commissioned the statue of Emperor Menelik, who had won the Battle of Adwa, destroying again the Italian forces, and he had it unveiled as a prelude to the coronation. So he's also sending a message. This is not no pushover thing. If you come on and invade, this is what's going to happen to you. Remember, say we have a history. And he had His Excellency the Duke of Gloucester from England actually remove the curtain and unveil the statue, which, you know, now famous Menelik on his horse in a war setting commemorating his victory at the Battle of Adwa. So again, he's sending a message to the colonizers coming into Africa. This is who we are. We are proud warrior people. We have a tradition. Don't try me. All of those vestments, what I talked about, were taken to the church and they prayed over them before the coronation. His Majesty and Empress Mene went to the coronation at midnight to pray themselves and to prepare themselves for the next day. So Ethiopia is a different place. Prayer, they take it very serious. And the coronation began 7 in the morning. But before that, you had priests that came from all over the realm. They were praying, chanting psalms, 7 days, 7 nights straight. The 4 corners of the church around. Holy spiritual energy is being harnessed for this ascension, this grand coronation. And His Majesty had to swear some oath, and I'll just end this episode with the oath, and then we'll get, like I said, we'll do another follow-up to this where we go and we do a deeper dive into some of the people who attended the coronation, some of the other implications. But just, this is the oath, and this is important as we talk about the Rastafari man standard, because His Majesty is the standard. So we have to see how to, you know, the highest day of his life, what did he swear an oath to? Number 1, that we should strengthen the Orthodox faith, which had remained steadfast in Ethiopia from the days of the holy kings Abraha and Ashbiha, and that we should keep without disturbance the laws and the ordinances which the Orthodox Church has laid down. He was crowned by the Orthodox Church, so this is natural. He had to swear that he would uphold the tradition of the Orthodox Church. And, you know, a lot of people say, you know, you're Rastafari, why are you not Orthodox then? And we always counter by saying, well, Yeshua was an Orthodox Jew, but yet still Christians are Christians. So, makes sense out of it. Number 2, that is all we are doing by our authority and our power to the people in the Imperial realm of Ethiopia. We should act with consideration for the interests of the people according to the law, as well as with kindness and with patience. So in all the exercise of power, make sure you keep the people in mind. Number 3, that we would permanently maintain the laws we had established after submitting them of our own free will to the counsel and advice, and that we would safeguard the entire Ethiopian realm and people in accordance with the established law and ordinances of the council. Number 4, that we would assist by our goodwill and authority the establishment of schools at which secular and spiritual education would be developed in Ethiopia, and in which the Gospels would be preached. So those were the 4 oaths that he had to take, and these are oaths that all of the emperors have to take to get the support of the Orthodox Church. So very important. We're going to go in, there's so much more details, but I want the episodes not to be so long, and there's a lot of supplementation. So we're going to get deeper into the coronation. We have so much more content. Again, give thanks to everyone who has been supporting the channel, and you know that the time has come for the lion to tell their own story, and this is the lion's voice.
Iron voice.